Welcome to Underworld UK, where Britain's darkest stories are brought to light. From the gritty streets of gangland London, Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham, from Curtis Warren to the Cray twins to county lines and modern-day true crime, we cover everything. Bringing you new videos every week. Subscribe so that you'll be notified when the next video is put out.
London, October 1993. A police officer arrives on a quiet Clapham street, responding to what should have been a routine domestic call. Moments later, gunshots ring out. Across the road, a man lies dead on his doorstep. As the officer moves in to respond, he's suddenly confronted by armed men. He shouts a warning, but before he can react, a single shot is fired into his chest. He collapses in the street. Witnesses would later say the gunman didn't run in panic, didn't hesitate, he walked away laughing. That man was Gary Nelson, and for more than a decade he would get away with murdering a police officer in cold blood. Gary Nelson wasn't just another criminal operating in South London, he was something far more dangerous. Known by the nickname Tyson due to his resemblance to the heavyweight boxer and his explosive temper, Nelson built a reputation early for violence, unpredictability and an obsession with firearms. By his early 20s, he wasn't just carrying guns, he was using them without hesitation. In one incident, he opened fire on a driver who had the audacity to overtake him, unleashing 5 shots in broad daylight in a fit of pure rage. It was the kind of behaviour that made people fear him and in many cases stay silent. The events that led to the murders began with what seemed like a minor act of disrespect. William Danso, a nightclub bouncer and father of 4, had refused Nelson entry and later intervened in an argument involving one of his associates. For most people, it had ended there. For Nelson, it was enough to justify a death sentence. Later that night, he returned to Danso's home in Cato Road with 2 accomplices, armed with a Browning 9mm and a tan Foglio pistol. They didn't knock or warn him. They opened fire, gunning Danso down on his own doorstep in a brutal, calculated attack. At the exact same time, PC Patrick Dunne was just metres away. A former maths teacher who joined the police to serve his community, Dunne was known as a calm and approachable officer, the kind of policeman people trusted. He had arrived on his bicycle to deal with a minor domestic situation when he heard the gunfire. Acting instinctively, he stepped outside and saw the armed men. He shouted a warning to those inside, trying to protect them. Seconds later, Gary Nelson raised his weapon and fired a single shot. The bullet tore through Dunne's vest and uniform, killing him instantly. Witnesses would later recall a chilling aftermath, the gunmen laughing as they fled, even firing a shot into the air as if celebrating what they'd just done. Police quickly identified Nelson as a suspect and arrested him within weeks. He was charged with murder, but despite the severity of the crime, the case collapsed due to a lack of evidence. With no witnesses willing to come forward and no definitive forensic link, prosecutors were forced to drop the charges. A man who had executed a police officer in the street was released back into the public, his reputation only growing stronger. Then came one of the strangest twists in the case. In the months following the murders, Nelson's aunt led a group of women on a bizarre late-night mission to recover the murder weapons, which had been buried in a cemetery in Wandsworth. They failed to find them, but months later, police were guided to the exact location by anonymous calls and lipstick crosses marked on gravestones. Buried beneath the earth were the guns used in the killings, wrapped in plastic. Even with this discovery, it still wasn't enough to secure a conviction. Throughout the 1990s, Nelson's influence only expanded. He inspired fear not just on the streets, but also behind bars. While serving time for an unrelated road rage shooting, he attacked police officers, intimidated other inmates, and built a reputation as someone who thrived on control and violence. Even hardened criminals kept the distance. His ability to dominate those around him, whether in prison or on the outside, reinforced the idea that he was untouchable. When he was released in 1999, Nelson returned straight to the same criminal lifestyle. The money, the image, the weapons, it all continued. But by this point, police attention had intensified. In 2003, during an unrelated investigation, officers bugged his flat in Woolwich and picked up the unmistakable sound of a firearm being handled. They moved in immediately. Inside, they discovered a Browning 9mm fitted with a laser sight and silencer, essentially a professional killing tool. He was sentenced to life in prison for possession of firearms, but the double murder from 1993 still remained unresolved. Behind the scenes, pressure from PC Dunne's family never faded. Determined to see justice done, they pushed for the case to be reopened. This time, investigators took a different approach. Instead of relying on a single piece of evidence, they began building a broader picture. Witnesses who'd once stayed silent began to speak. A former prison inmate came forward claiming Nelson had openly confessed to shooting the copper on the bike. Another witness placed a gun in Nelson's hand the day before the murders. Detectives assembled a case based on multiple strands of circumstantial evidence, each one reinforcing the other. By the time the trial began in 2006, more than 12 years had passed since the murders. Nelson, who long carried himself with an air of arrogance and invincibility, was once again in court. This time, the outcome was different. The jury found him guilty of both murders. The man who'd walked away laughing at a double killing was finally held accountable. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 35 years. Even then, the full story may never have been told. Some investigators and former officers believe Nelson was responsible for several other murders that were never proven. His grip on the community, built through fear and intimidation, meant that many people simply refused to speak. There were also disturbing questions surrounding the weapons used in the killings. Evidence later suggested that the guns may have been supplied by a police informant and linked to a network involving a former officer dealing in illegal firearms. Despite the scale of what was uncovered, those involved received surprisingly light sentences, fueling suspicions that parts of the truth were buried along with the weapons. Gary Nelson built his reputation on violence, control and fear. For years he operated as if the law didn't apply to him, silencing witnesses and avoiding consequences. But time eventually caught up with him. The man who once laughed after killing a police officer now faces the rest of his life behind bars, his story standing as a reminder of just how long justice can take and how close it can come to being lost altogether. We are now going to listen to career criminal Yami B, who considers Gary Tyson Nelson a close friend and spent time in prison with him. He tells all about what the real Gary Nelson is like and portrays a different person to the monster of a character that the media has made him out to be. Subscribe to Yami B YouTube channel for more inside prison stories like this. Anyway, let's jump into Yami's point of view on Gary Nelson.
First of all, I'll put it to you that this is your interview.
Yeah.
So with this interview, we're asking you, are we going to hear the facts of your life?
Yeah.
No lies are going to be in this interview.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth. He's got a brain on his shoulders. And we know, you think Gary's just going to turn up and if there's a better fight than him, that you think Gary's just going to go, yeah. Gary's got the plan B. He's got that before he gets there. But in my submission, after meeting everybody that you can think of and you can call, from white people, black people, Turkish things and all that, everything that I saw, that if you ever wanted to aspire to be, and the good thing about Gary, when I say, a man says to him, I want to do that, Gary says, no, don't do that. Before I ever went to the caddies, he said, don't come there. You know, he'd tell you not to follow the way that he did it, and he'd have his own reasons for the way that he explains it. But I will tell you that in my top 5, I would have to say that Gary Tyson was the greatest of all time. telling you, without Gary Tyson in the gates, London wouldn't be the same thing. A lot of people let Gary down. He'd done a lot of things for people, and in return, there wasn't. As far as I see it, you know, they can say what they want and what they think. I think a lot of people let him down.
Yeah.
And that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And he helps so many people, and you know, from all walks of life. When it comes to biting off more than you can chew, you know, and taking it on, whether you know, because a lot of the time when you're making a name for yourself, it's easy target. There's not much coming back.
Yeah.
So you can build up. It's like a fighter who starts with 20 nobodies, kind of thing. Not saying that they're doing that, but on whatever day and whatever, you know, how he feels, he's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready, and he'll take it to whatever way the level needs to be done.
Okay.
So I mean, if that one deserves a backhand, that's that one. If that one deserves weapons, or that one is getting so serious, he'll know the difference.
Yeah.
And he will know how far to take it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of men who say that I'll take this, I'll take that, and it don't matter really. No. There's certain man, that's how we used to say, the man, they buy that man for me. Remember, they were coming in and kind of give me the bully boy tactics in scrubs. They used to go on like that.
Yeah.
When you think you're bad, and they used to come in and surround me. And then one day they were giving me my bread roll, and I remember like I was sitting there, I was going no, and Gary was shouting, "Didn't they give you a bread roll?" I said, "No, Gary." I was like, "They're giving all the nonsense upstairs, but they're not giving me nothing." And I goes, "But it's cool anyway. It's nothing. It's only a bread roll." And about 5 minutes later, Gary come out for his dinner, and he said to me, "Yeah, open that door. We got a bread roll for Yanni." And they said, "No, there ain't none." And Gary said, "No, you can't do that. Give him my bread roll." I went to open that door and I went to give him my bread roll, and they said, "Gary, now look." And there were about 8, 9 of them surrounded him, and I was looking through the spot going, what's going on here? They're going to jump on him. And he had his nightgown on and his slippers with all his tom on, and I was looking at him and I was thinking, what's going to happen here? And he called it on. He said, "What are you all going to do? You all going to gangbang me?" And I was witnessing this, and I was thinking, I ain't seen none of this before. Normally they just jump on people. And they never did nothing. They opened the door and gave me the bread roll. I said, yeah. Nice guy. And that was the first time I witnessed certain things. I see him fight with the screws, obviously, and get the bout.
Yeah.
And even when they got him down, he's still not. You can't. He's in moves that they can't get the rest of him, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
He was good at that. Yeah, but that was the first sign that I could see. Like with Gary strikes me out as a character along those years who I looked at and liked, obviously, and loved at some stages. That I saw like something in him that I wish that could have been me too. You got to be real. As much as I had my own thing going, that bad man thing started to appeal to me a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, because you're seeing that firsthand, and you're thinking. I remember trying what he did, like years later. I called it on with them all. They all jumped on me. I tried that same thing. Who do you think you're all talking to? What, do you want to have it? Well, let's have it. It didn't work for me.
No.
You know what I mean? They all jumped on me, mate.
Obviously, out here there's bare stories.
Yeah.
All over the gaff there's stories of this happened, that happened, the other happened.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, in the time you was rounding, you see things, everyone see things. Did anyone ever get the better of Gary in any situation he had in them jail cells?
Look, unless you're telling me something new and something's happened, because I'm not in touch with the criminal fraternity or in the case, but I can, as my knowledge and everything that I've seen, and with everybody that I know, I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me that he had a defeat of some kind.
Yeah.
So you got to tell me, and I'll tell you that whatever the ones that you talk about, whether it was a draw, whether it was close, or whether it mattered really, you know. But in reality, Gary took on whoever was anybody who wanted it.